Before we dive in, I've got something for you. If you're studying for the ARE, you don't need to figure it out alone. Inside my free resource hub, you'll find study guides, resource guides, pop quizzes, and other tools designed to make exam prep a whole lot easier. Head to dci.beyoungdesign.com/resources or check the link in the show notes to grab it now. It's completely free. All right, enjoy the show. Hey everyone, as people start coming in, I made a poll within the last couple days of what kind of content you guys wanted to see. And the majority of you said you wanted to see study techniques. So I am so excited to host this live so that we can go through some study techniques. I sent out an email if you are part of our newsletter just this morning with some study techniques. And I thought, let's go live on YouTube so that we can chat. I can give you this. And then also, if you have other type of study techniques that you prefer or that you recommend or that have worked really well for you to pass your exams, then this is going to be super helpful so we can kind of collaborate and make it a conversation. So there are so many different study techniques that we can use. The biggest mistake that I made when I was starting more of my licensing exams, because when I was in college and high school, I didn't even think of this at that time. I was just flying by the seat of my pants and just doing what I needed to do to pass some of the exams. I was like, let's just, C's are passing, let's get by. The classes that I cared about, I would do well in. And so I didn't typically have to study too hard because I liked it. So if you were ever a straight A student or someone who really spent, I remember having friends who would not do anything over the weekend or any time because they would be studying. And I was always like, we're only living one life. Let's just go out. Let's play. Let's have fun. Let's not study. So then when I got into my master's, same thing kind of happened. And then when I went into my licensing exams, all of a sudden, it was like a rude awakening. I had to figure out how to study, what even that looks like. So when I went into my first exam, I went in with that similar approach. Okay, I love balance. I'm going to have a balanced life. I'll study a little bit. I know the information, but, I'm going to do, I'll read the books. I took practice exams and wasn't doing well. So obviously I needed to learn the information. But I went about the study technique like I did anything else. I kind of half-assed it, or I went about it in okay, you read the chapters, you take a couple practice exams, and then you go in and you take it. And I quickly realized that that wasn't an effective way to pass. And so on this journey of figuring out how to pass, and then going even beyond that, once I was licensed architect and helping others figure out how they can pass, I realized how critical different study techniques were. Everybody learns in a different way. I've talked about this before. I have other videos of different learning styles, learning techniques. I also discovered late in life, only a couple years ago, that I also have ADHD, which makes sense for the style of studying that I did. And that also made me realize that I had to discover different ways to study that I would be able to stay consistent with, and that would allow me really to get to that pass. So I am going to give you today 3 study techniques that have worked really well for me, that have worked really well for a lot of our members. Inside Mind Over ARE, we go a lot into figuring out your exact study method that works for you with tons of different techniques and stuff like that. So it really is a self journey. And what I recommend is trying out a bunch of different techniques to see really what it is that works best for you. So I'll give you some. I have other videos that have some ideas. I can even put together a whole list of different techniques, and then you can kind of play around with it. Oh, I also have a I used to have a quiz that told you your like personality, your study personality, and then each of those had a PDF or have a PDF that breaks down what the best way to study is for you. Right now, unfortunately, that quiz is down. We're trying to work on it. We switched softwares and it's been like a whole back end thing. So I'm working on that. But once that's up again, you should get into that too, because there'll be like a whole PDF and that will help you figure that out as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So 3 study techniques. Again, this isn't an exhaustive list. There's all sorts of different study techniques. I want to hear what type of studying works best for you. So if you're on here right now and you have a study technique that you love, put it in the chat. If you have a study technique that you hate, but you tend to keep going back to, I want to hear that too, because that's how I was with reading. I love listening to audiobooks. Like this year, I've probably listened to I think I'm on 80 or something books, like novels. I love business books, self-development, and then I do a mystery, true crime. And so I've listened to that many books. I never would have thought that I was a reader because I have a book that I started in June, a physical book that's seriously 100, maybe 150 pages, probably 100, and I'm still not done with it. And I used to really think that I wasn't very smart because I could not read a book. In English class in high school, I would never finish a book. I could not finish a book. And that was really hard for me until I realized that I'm an auditory learner. And so listening, I can put on headphones and I can listen to a full business book in a day and be able to recall it and write a report on it. And I wish I would have known that when I was in high school. So I didn't, I was pretty ashamed of English class. I sat in the back. I probably cheated off people next to me. Sorry, teachers. Now that I'm old, I can say that. But I didn't realize that. And so that's why it's really important for people to learn what works for them, because if I hadn't discovered that, and I kept reading the textbooks for the exams, it would have taken me a lot longer. So finding audios was a little bit harder. And that's also why I do what I do now, is trying to create audio podcasts or audio visual YouTube videos. Inside the ABC Club, we have audios and visuals and stuff like that because we do learn differently. So Eric, I'm a listener and a visual learner. Yeah, exactly. So for you too, videos are really helpful. Coming onto YouTube and being able to listen to something, but then also get a visual is so helpful. And you could sit down and read a textbook and not be able to retain any of it and then feel oh my gosh, I'm never going to get this done. So figuring out what works for you can be such a game changer. Okay, so here are 3 different study techniques. Let me know if you have tried any of these. And if you haven't tried any, after we go through it, I want to hear which one you're interested in. So the first one is called the Pomodoro technique. Has anyone heard of this one? This one I didn't know had a technical name. I used to basically do this, and then as I was going through more exploration of how to teach studying, then I realized, oh, there's a name to this technique, and this is what I do. So the Pomodoro technique is basically, sorry, just touched my mic, basically breaking up your study time into different intervals so that you're not doing those marathon runs where then all of a sudden you have no idea what you just studied. So a great way to do it is I have a cube timer. I don't have it in here right now, but I will do it's really great if you're procrastinating too. If I really don't want to do something, I will just set the 5-minute timer. And then by the time the 5 minutes is up, I'm into it and I get going. But the Pomodoro technique technically is like 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Or you could do like 20 minutes on and then 10 minutes off. It depends on what you want to do. You don't want to take too long off where you get out of the flow, but it really helps maintain focus without burning out. And I would even recommend not just like getting on your phone and scrolling during those 5 minutes. I would recommend like getting up, going for a walk, going out in the sun, chatting with somebody, or doing something, even just some movement, something like that, just to break it up. And then after that 5 minutes, you're ready to come back. So I have taught this in many different capacities, but it is the best way to not feel like you're stuck, right? When you sit down, it's not like I'm stuck here and whatever. It's also a way to notice like, okay, I just set that 25-minute timer and I'm already 10 minutes into it and I'm so not focused and I can't get into it. And that's already half the time. At that point, I would just pause it, get up, do something different, and then come back to it and start again. So it's just a great way to hold yourself accountable of the time. The other technique, and I'm going to make a video of this sometime because I've seen some really fun videos on YouTube, is people will put a cup of ice next to them while they're studying. And the idea is you study until the ice melts. Now, obviously, depending on where you are, what the temperature is, that could be a really long time or it could be really short. So play around with it, but it's just a fun visual tool to have that's not necessarily time derived, not necessarily like you're seeing a countdown or anything. For us taking the architecture exams, seeing a countdown could be helpful because you're going to see a countdown when you're taking the exam. And so getting comfortable with that countdown is good because that's something I hear a lot of candidates say is that once they're in the exam room and they're seeing that countdown, they can kind of like almost hyperfixate on it and freak them out. So if you do practice or study with a countdown, it can be helpful just to like not make it feel so triggering, if that makes sense. Has anyone tried the Pomodoro technique or anything kind of similar? Again, like maybe there wasn't technically a name for it, but it's a technique that's like it's so helpful. And again, you can even just start off with 25 minutes, 5 minutes. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Okay, the second one is mind mapping. This is so helpful for our visual learners. So Eric, this is going to be helpful for you. For so many people who are studying for their architecture exams, mind mapping is huge. Yeah, definitely try it out, Eric. If you haven't tried it, just try it. It's very helpful. And again, like play around with the time too. So mind mapping is a visual way to organize information. And this is so helpful because it helps you create connections. So connections or patterns or anything in the material. This is really helpful for our pro practice exams when there's not necessarily the same visual study material that is going to be for our technical exams. Our technical exams, there's going to be a lot more like details, drawings, videos, different things, even walking around in the world and actually seeing visual things that can help you study. So pro practice, using the mind mapping tool is so helpful. Even the way I like to think of it and use it is like contracts and the contractual relationship between parties is so helpful. And what that would look like is an actual, like, think of it like a bubble diagram. I actually created one of these for the CSE, California Supplemental Exam, and that's been like one of my best selling. Before I sold it, it was just a free resource, like the best resource downloaded ever is this just like very simplistic. Well, simplistic mind map, but it's actually very complicated. Complicated's not the right word. Very complex because it shows all these relationships. So when we're working with contracts, we're working with different agencies, we're working with agency is the right word I'm thinking of. Like you have your planning departments, you have all these different departments and they oversee this, and then this oversees this, and then you have your different delivery methods, and this delivery method is best with this contract, and this contract's going to have a relationship between these people. So instead of just like writing notes or even Cornell notes, but actually bubble diagramming or connecting them in a visual hierarchy or even little sketches is so powerful, not only for you to go back and study again, but for your recall. So when you're in your exam, you'll like literally remember the size of the bubble with like the connection, or it might even be something that you can re-sketch because you've sketched it out. So mind mapping, again, super helpful for our visual learners, honestly, for anybody, but it is a alternate way, especially for the pro practice exams when you're not necessarily going to have the visuals that you would have for technical. And you could still for sure use it for technical as well. Even if it's like mind mapping out a site analysis or the different things that you would need for your site analysis, and using size and color and patterns. It's a visual way for you to quickly recall and to quickly study, almost like a study guide. Like I took, my gosh, like an entire study guide basically and turned it into just 4 pages of mind maps. Obviously, it doesn't have like all the detailed information. Go back to your resources for that, but it's a quick overview. It's like a visual study guide. Now that I'm saying this, I need to create some for the ARE. If you have any ideas of what visual mind maps would be great and helpful for you for the ARE, let me know. Leave a comment here and I will work on that because I love making mind maps and they're so insanely helpful that it would be cool to put together some. So mind mapping. All right, the next one, active recall. This is something that I'm sure by now a lot of you have heard, that when you can teach something or explain it out loud, you're much more likely to be able to recall it later. You're much more likely to be able to know the information. And these exams are all about knowing the information, which means you have to be able to explain it. And active recall allows you to test yourself on the content instead of just like reviewing notes. So the more you actively recall the information, the better you will be at remembering. And especially, again, like Eric, myself, they're auditory learners. I always have hard time with that words. Auditory learners especially is, instead of just reviewing our notes, is explain it out loud, teach it out loud. Even record yourself. Like on the iPhone, there's the voice memos. I use it all the time. You can voice memo it, read it out loud or whatever, and then listen to it back, and then also teach yourself. Bonus points is if you're in like a study group and you're able to explain it out loud, you're able to describe it, teach it, even answering a practice question and explaining why the answer is the answer. Study groups are so helpful for this, because if I'm just taking a practice quiz or question series on my own and I get a question right, likely I'm going to be like, okay, cool, move on to the next. But if I'm in a study group that's holding me accountable, or maybe there's someone in that group who doesn't understand the answer, then, and I'm held accountable for explaining it, It will make sure that I'm not just answering the right answer perchance. It means I'm actually understanding why that's the right answer. So explaining out loud, teaching, even doing like making up your own practice questions and reading them out loud to yourself or reading them to someone else or having someone then read it to you. All of these things are super helpful. So those are 3 fairly simple study techniques. I would say the first one and the third one, the Pomodoro technique and active recall, are the more easy to just incorporate into your sessions. The mind mapping is also simple, but it can technically take more time during your studying because you're taking the time to organize the notes, draw it out, design it, all those things. But that's like what's going to be so powerful. Like that's the difference between just reading something passively and then reading something, drawing it out, understanding the relationships, and then being able to come back to it later and know it. So hopefully those 3 are either new to you or maybe you knew them, but you haven't been doing them. So try those 3 things out this week. Let me know which ones work well for you. Again, let me know if there are any study techniques that you prefer and that you like. And awesome. It's always helpful just to hear other techniques because a lot of times I'll hear people say, I have tried everything and it's just not working. Or I have tried everything and I'm still not feeling confident with it. So just try out something new. It's always worth it. I can come out with some other ideas. Actually, now that I'm saying this, I'll grab my PDFs for those different learning types and I'll make a video for each one because I think that will be really helpful for you too. All right. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Eric, you're awesome. Hopefully do you have an exam coming up anytime soon? Because it sounds like you're actively studying. Well, let me know. Good luck on your exam. Good luck everyone else coming up on an exam. Keep an eye out for new videos. Go over to the community side of YouTube and type in or poll what type of videos you want next. And you can even leave a comment and stuff to let me know what you want next. And you guys are the ones I make these for, so I always love hearing what you want more of, and I'll do that next. Oh, nice. Yeah, just starting the ABC membership. Well, let me know if you have any questions as you're going through there, and we'll see you soon. Bye, all. Thanks for listening today. Hey, remember, you've got free resources waiting for you at dci.beyoungdesign.com/resources. And when you're ready for deeper support and to come hang out with us, join us inside the ABC Club and ABC Club Premium, where you are going to get the help you need to pass your exam and actually enjoy the process. So don't let another week go by without moving forward. Take action. You got this. Check the links in the show notes and join us inside the club.